Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the One Step Better podcast. I am Mike Schaefer, and with me today is good old Shelby Joe. Shelby Betts is going to be joining us today as we're going to talk about a topic that is important for every business to get right. And it's something that, just as a teaser, is very clearly missing when it's missing, and everybody knows that it's missing. But then when it's on point, everybody's going to scream your praises. And so stick with us a little bit, and we're going to talk about something that has the potential, not to oversell it, to change your world.
Change your worlds. Thank you for having me, Mike.
Yep. Really glad that you're going to be joining us today. In order to get started with the topic, though, we have to first break the ice and give our listeners a little insight into who we are as people. And we do that by answering Becky's famous question of the week.
Before we do that, can I say a pickup line?
Uh-oh. Sure.
How much does a polar bear weigh?
How much?
Enough to break the ice.
Polar bears is the only bear in the world that actively hunts humans.
Oh, well, that's terrifying.
Fact that you can only learn on episodes of the One Step Better podcast.
Well, 7th grade, he guy used it on me. He's like, enough to break the ice, I'm Tyler.
That's
anyway,
impressive.
So our actual icebreaker today, what you got?
The actual icebreaker today is if you had a polar bear, what would... No, I'm just kidding.
Teach him not to attack humans.
Train up the polar bears. What do you wish your phone could do? In the world of technology in 2021, our phones can do so many things, but what is the thing that it cannot do? Because it's very possible that Tim Cook is listening right now and is really intrigued to know what we think about phone products.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he was following last week, if I'm not mistaken, looking at the charts. I think Tim was there.
Yeah, well, whenever he came over for dinner last night, and we were talking about this, and so I thought, why not?
What do I wish my phone could do? This is not a exciting answer, but I wished that it could only do, have the ability to turn off all functions except one function.
Yeah, so
for example, phone calls. When I need to sit down and just make phone calls, I really need an hour of undistracted silence. I wish that I could just put my phone in ghost mode where nothing, they're moving towards that just a little bit because you can set hours where you're not notified, sleep time and stuff like that. But I wish that if I was doing one thing, let's say, I love to read on my phone, articles and stuff. I wish I could a certain app or a certain thing where I had a specific opening and it would know she's reading the article today, or she's reading a book. So we won't do notifications or a do not disturb.
So you don't have to turn on do not disturb. It automatically knows do not disturb.
Yeah, just create some rules and then have a couple of settings where whenever these functions are happening, that's all that can happen.
Okay, I got to feel for the sake of our listeners out there that are thinking of this question, I got to ask it. You do know that an iPhone does have a do not disturb feature, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I use it.
Just making sure.
But can you do it for an hour?
Yes.
And then I could still make calls and nothing would disturb me.
Yes.
Really?
So here's what I do. It may not be exactly what you're wanting it to be, but I have you can set bedtime rules so it automatically goes to do not disturb. I do that too.
Yep.
But then during the day you can click on do not disturb. But in your contacts you can say these certain people do not disturb does not apply to
them.
And so I do that with
Family.
Meredith. No, just Meredith. My mom calls and it's I'm sorry, can't get through. No, only Meredith. If it's really an emergency, they'll call her. She can call me. We'll be all right. Now, if she's the one having the emergency, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I know, but I guess, and maybe it does do this, and I don't know. This is back to I'm a late adapter of technology, which is hilarious because we sell technology here. But yeah, no, I wish if I was using one particular thing, I hate when I see notifications pop in, or just knowing also too that I can click out of that screen and onto 17 more. I wish that I lived a less distracted life. So I wish my phone could help me do that. It's trying to, but anyway. Yeah. Sounds like it's already there and I'm just not using the technology. What do you wish your phone could do?
This isn't a new, apart from it could turn into a teleportation machine or, something crazy like that.
Key.
If it's a port key and we can go wherever we want to go.
Zoom, New Zealand.
That would be cool. Maybe a more realistic, one of the things that my phone does a bad job at that I wish it was better is switching between devices.
Yeah.
So, Apple, I have CarPlay in my car and I use that all the time.
Yep.
And whenever my phone is I get in, turn on the car, it's plugged up and all ready to go. Sometimes it doesn't register to CarPlay and it still wants to play. It recognizes it's attached to something because it'll start playing through my phone speakers instead of through my car speakers.
Interesting.
And then switching back and forth between my AirPods. I have Apple ecosystem, so my AirPods to the car, like that just doesn't work as seamlessly as I think it should.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm the same with my headset. If I get in, I'm like, I want it to stay. I would turn the headset off. I want it to default there first before I hit the CarPlay. Yeah, that's a good one.
That's annoying though, because
we should be able to kind of like set preferences, I would think.
And one of the things so my phone it does automatic updates. So it updated to whatever the new version of iOS is. And I haven't got to play with this too much because this just happened like 2 days ago. But it appears, because I listen to a bunch of podcasts, One Step Better podcast being one of them, because there's nothing better than listening to yourself on podcasts. But one of the things that it used to do whenever it was connected to my car is it would only display the episodes that have not been listened to yet.
Yep.
And it appears in this newest release, every episode is listed regardless of whether I list them or not. And if that's true, and you can't turn that off, I'm going to be writing a letter because that is annoying.
Yeah. I haven't tested that, but I listen to a ton of podcasts and now I'm scared about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I still got to figure it out. Maybe it was just one of those sync issues with that I should have gotten fixed in the last suggestion of mine, but who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
So
technology.
Man, technology is great. It works in a lot of different ways. Phones are wonderful. It's great because, you can get text messages, phone calls, WhatsApp, all kinds of stuff. What can it do?
Transfer money, check your email.
Yeah. Including getting emails and phone calls from our clients. Because here we use our phones for a lot of different stuff. And one of the things that we do use our phones for is responding to our clients' issues, making sure they're taken care of, which is an excellent segue into our topic today, which is going to be generically customer service.
Customer service.
I felt like there's no better time to talk about customer service than with our lead salesperson, Shelby Joe. And so Shelby's going to tell you that she doesn't do a good job with this, but the reality is she does. She truly talks, she truly embodies customer service from the real word that it is, which is just serving our customers. Regardless of anything else, Shelby likes to take care of anybody that we work with, and we appreciate that greatly. But Shelby has a unique perspective here. Perspective may not be the right word, but a unique role here in that she's kind of the starting gateway point of getting our customers, our clients, whatever you want to call them, on board with our systems, in line with our processes. And so I feel like it'd be a good idea to talk to Shelby about customer service. Shelby, let's start with this. Let's actually define our terms a little bit. Whenever you hear the word customer service or the term customer service, what do you think of?
Call centers.
Yeah. Like cubicle, headsets.
Yeah, truthfully, when I think of customer service, I think of all of the tech out there that we try desperately hard to use so that we don't have to interact with our clients.
Yeah.
Not us personally. I'm thinking just in general. So call centers I think about when I think of the word customer service. I think about AI, the automated chatbots on a company website, and like ticketing systems. Honestly, I think a lot about that. The next thing I think of on customer service is like the DMV, where you have to go grab a ticket and you're like, holy moly, I'm going to be waiting here. And the next thing that I think about when I think of customer service is, of course, my most recent experience, which was poor.
Of course.
Yeah, but no, when I think of customer service, it's the age-old question. That's what all owners care about. The number one way you continue to grow your business is by keeping the business that you have. I say this a lot here, but I always tell people it's a lot easier to get someone who's already bought from you saying yes to you again than having to start that whole sales process all over again. So I'm right in the middle of prospecting mode, and I can tell you, cold calling is no fun. These people don't know me. My message may not be relevant. I'm just kind of guessing like, hey, I think we should do business together. I don't know. But it's hard to start that process over. So I do think owners and leadership teams need to spend significant time thinking about customer service, because if you do it well, you will find you need less of a sales force, because your clients and your customers are going to be raving fans, which we know if you haven't read that book, you need to. I forget the author's name.
I don't know.
There's a book called Raving Fans. I guess we'll put it in our show notes, but it's all about that idea of how do you turn your customer who's said yes and pays you into someone who is out there selling for you.
Yeah. Do you think whenever you just generically hear the term customer service, is all of the negative stereotypes, Is that what comes to mind?
Yeah, I would think so.
Me too. Whenever I hear
Definitely.
customer service, I don't think about positive experiences. I immediately think of negative experiences.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't like that though.
Yeah,
I wish it wasn't that way.
same. It's
Oh,
human nature, though.
we fixed that. Whenever I think of customer service, I beat these guys up on this podcast all the time, but I think of Comcast,
hmm
and that's probably why it's negative that comes to mind. Um, Customer service is lacking greatly
hmm
in a lot of companies, and exactly what you said. If we can fix customer service issues,
hmm
then we can fix a lot of other issues. It
Yep.
just comes naturally.
Absolutely.
I don't pretend to be the best at customer service. I'm not bad at it. I jokingly say that I'm terrible at customer service. I know that's not actually true.
Yeah,
But it's not like the strongest skill set that I have.
sure.
When I think about trying to have positive customer service, I think it is very simple.
hmm
It's not easy to do, but it's extremely simple.
Yep.
Because I think it's respond quickly. Timely is one word, but I say quickly. Respond as quick as you possibly can. And if you can't respond quickly, stop whatever you're doing to respond to something quickly. You have to have a team of, like, if I say, we deal with this all the time here. If somebody calls me and says, "Hey, Mike, this is broken. I can't continue to use it. And you're the one who sold it to me, or you're the one who's providing this for me. So it's your job to fix."
Sure.
I can't just let that sit on the back burner for a couple of weeks. I'll get around to it when I can,
Right.
because that's just not how we operate. But also, everybody intrinsically knows that's not the way that should have been handled.
Yep.
And so those are the easy ones. And I think we do, a lot of companies do a good job of trying to stay in the middle between, I don't want to be a Comcast, but I
Yeah.
also know that, maybe I'm not a Chick-fil-A or, whoever you can think of when you think of really great customer service.
Sure.
And that middle area is where a lot of people play. And I think that's a dangerous place to continue to play.
Yeah.
Because I also think of customer service, I think of opportunity.
Of course.
If you want to set yourself apart in industry, whatever the industry is,
hmm
your customer service is what's going to do that. And so I want to define customer service a little bit and frame the conversation of what we're talking about, because I immediately think of the negative. This is all the things that are going wrong in the world with customer service and all of my interaction that I've ever had with companies that have been negative.
Yeah.
But I don't want that to be the place that we stay and land. And so when I talk about customer service, I want us to think about and talk about how are we as a company going above and beyond the extra mile, beyond just what expectations are, but what is that golden degree of perfection
Right.
to try to meet our customers' needs every single time. 100% perfect, 100% of the time. That's what I try to instill in my team
Sure.
when it comes to customer service.
Yeah. I think you do that well. Actually, Becky's working on our culture video right now, and something you said in that video, I've held that and I use that a little bit in my sales process. But in that video, if you are looking for a job, and shameless plug, if you go check our website out, we're hiring. And but in that culture video, you say our team has the green light to do whatever it takes to get a client the right answer every time. And I think that's a very good definition of customer service is you need to educate and equip your team so that they have the green light to get the right answer to the client every time. Now, I think it's scary because, and this is why I think we focus so poorly on what customer service isn't, like how it's been done wrong, is we put kind of frontline people in front in our customer service positions to respond quickly. But they may not have the right answer. And so I think a lot of people get very frustrated because they're reaching out, there's a problem, they need help. Well, they're getting a quick response, but they're not getting the right response. And so I would rather sacrifice the quickness to get the right answer. Now, that doesn't mean you don't respond. It's, hey, I don't know this answer. I'm on this. Let me get back to you. I think it's reasonable to create the expectation of I'm going to find this out in the next 30 minutes, or it's going to take me an hour. But I think a good working definition of customer service is equipping your team to have the green light to do whatever it takes to get them the right answer every time. Part of that, too, is owning up when you don't know the right answer. That's okay. I think at least my generation, I would prefer vulnerability. I would prefer to call someone and say, hey, this is broken, or this isn't what you promised. And them to say, yeah, you're right. I'm wrong. I sold you the wrong product, or, hey, this is why it's not working. I would so much rather hear, yeah, it's my fault. I did it wrong. Let me fix it, than our manager will get back to you.
Yeah.
And
I even more than that, I would rather hear, hey, you know what? You're right. It's broken. I have no idea why.
Yep.
And I don't know how to fix this, but I'll figure it out.
Right.
And if I can't figure it out, I'll get somebody that can figure it out.
Sure.
I think that a lot of people will see customer service as triage, and I don't think it should be.
Yeah, it should be an opportunity, as you were mentioning, because if your client base is recognizing a fault in your product or service, that's probably your greatest opportunity to, number one, outshine on your competition or improve your processes, that's a great value prop. If you can fix a process that isn't working well, and then your clients are happier, and then you can go change that into a new offering to new potential clients, that's a huge win. So really, we should be thanking people when they're calling us and saying, hey, this isn't working, because that's your SWOT analysis right there.
There's a vendor that I work with very closely on a regular basis that is not known for great customer service. And they know they're not known for it. And they keep saying that this is something that we're fixing, we're trying to improve upon. We know it's an issue, we're fixing it, we're trying to improve upon it, we know it's an issue. To the point where I don't care to hear it anymore.
Sure.
What they are doing, their definition of what what they actually are doing to fix this is they're getting more people on the front lines of customer service.
Interesting.
That is the air traffic controller to say, all right, this is where that issue should go, and that's where that issue should go, in order to route the issue to the right team.
Yeah.
And that's triage. That's not customer service, because behind that, what their issue is, and it's a common issue a lot of businesses are facing right now, is they don't have enough qualified people that can actually deal with the issue.
Yeah.
They have plenty of people that can say, this issue is in this area, therefore we can get it to that team.
But they lack the technical expertise to answer it.
But they lack the yeah. And so you're not actually fixing your problem. I'm sure you are trying to, and everybody's struggling. And it's a vendor that we were super proud of and happy about in other places. But that is not resolving customer service to me.
Yeah.
Customer service is actually, and the reason I say that our team has a green light to do whatever it takes is because when you make a phone call to one person and you can, hey, here's the issue, and that person understands that this is a big issue and we have to get it fixed, regardless of if they're the one that can maybe, jump in and actually do the work to fix it, or if they're the one that can go say, hey, Shelby, we have to get this fixed and here's the issue, that person in our team is responsible for fixing it.
Right.
And they can't drop that ball until it's fixed.
Yeah.
When it hits your plate, it stays on your plate until it's finished. You don't get to pass the buck and say, all right, let me get that to Shelby because she's the one that can fix it. That's not acceptable here.
Yeah.
You have to fix the issue, whether that's you doing the work or you getting the person to do the work to fix it. If I'm not talking to the person that can fix my issues, I don't need to talk to you.
Agreed.
And it's beyond frustrating. I deal with this with the IRS on a daily basis right now. They're struggling too. And I won't even get into the ways that they're struggling. We got a letter. We're getting letters right now that says, hey, we received this return, but we lost it. Can you resend it? Which is like, okay. But when you're getting hundreds of those, it's a bit out of control.
Terrifying. That's what it is.
I got a letter just the other day that said, hey, this is an issue. Call us to the number listed above to get this fixed. I call the number and it plays a message and then hangs up. Nice. Not even a chance to talk to somebody about it. And it's like, man, those types of things are just way, way, way frustrating. And I don't ever want that to be said about this company.
Yeah. I also too think that when you're talking about triaging, this is something, if you're a smaller mid-sized business, this is something to look into. But we did invest in some recording software, which is, for me, I don't know how you feel about your team, but oh, holy cow, that's changed our sales process because we get to go back and listen to our calls and coach on that. But I think that's one piece of customer service that I think a lot of owners and businesses are really relying on is you're on a recorded line and please take the survey afterwards. I get so irritated when I can tell someone's reading a script.
Yeah. And
I'm like, okay, instead of having these lessons about what triaging looks like, why don't we just coach our team on what relationship building looks like? Because at the end of the day, customer service is really just all about relationship building. There is someone on the end of that line, and devoid of they have an issue we need to resolve, they're a human being first. no one wants the, hello, my name is Shelby and I'm with Works and you're on a recorded line today. Can you tell me what your issue is? Oh, okay. Let me be sure I understand. Let me recap that. It's like, oh my goodness. Like I would rather hear like, hey, what's up? So something's going wrong. What can we do to fix it? Tell me about it.
Act like a normal person having a normal conversation.
I don't know where we've created this kind of facade that like this professional recorded radio voice will fix the problem. I don't think that buyers want that. Like I think we've missed our mark on like what buyers want to hear.
Yeah.
You're wrong about that.
We want to be treated like normal people. And sometimes, when I have an issue, I don't expect that person to fix it all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I expect they may be able to get to the person that can fix it. We deal with software a lot. And if somebody calls us, it's normally there's some type of software issue that needs to be corrected in some way. Sometimes that's you didn't do what you were supposed to do correctly, or sometimes that is, well, we didn't set something up for you to do that with correctly. But if I just, all right, so tell me, where are you having this issue? And how many times is it happening? And is it happening to all people? Instead, hey, you know what? I think that might be here. Let's go take a look and figure it out and see what's going on.
Yep.
Just like act normal.
Yeah. Even if you're on a recorded line.
Yeah.
They're on a recorded line. I can hear the call, but I don't want to know that I'm on a recorded line. I just want you to talk normally.
Sometimes there's privacy rules that you have to say that you're.
Well, and ours does that. If you get a call from us, it does say, hey, you're on a recorded line. If you don't wish to be recorded, you can opt out, which is fine. But if you have an Alexa in your home, they're hearing everything anyway.
I know, right?
So question, Mike, we've danced around this, but what would you say your definition of customer service is?
It's doing whatever you need to do to get the customer an answer, in resolution in a reasonable period of time. That's probably what I think of off the top of my head. Sometimes that answer is, hey, I can't help you. And I don't mean that like in a, hey, I don't know how to do this, and so you're just hosed, got to go figure it out on your own. But in a, the problem that you're having or the issue that you're having
cannot be resolved.
It cannot be that's not a problem that I can fix. Like, if I'm your accountant and you call me and say, hey, Mike, I'm broken down on the side of the road. Can you bring me some gas? I'm in New Mexico. I'm like, man, I'm sitting in Memphis, Tennessee. I can't help you.
Yeah. Unless you had a telephone that was a port key.
Yeah, don't confuse customer service with yes.
Absolutely.
Because it's not always yes. I don't know if I should say this in a recorded podcast, but I don't believe that the customer is always right.
Right.
That's not ever been something that I believe. I think a lot of the times the customer is wrong, and good customer service tactfully, rightfully says, hey, Shelby, I think you're wrong about this. What about this instead? Or have you considered this? And offer alternatives. If the answer is going to be no, let's offer some alternatives. So if you called me, hey, Mike, I'm in New Mexico, broken down the side of the road. Can you bring me gas? No. Well, that's not the end of the conversation. No. Have you called your insurance company? Do you have roadside assistance? No.
Sure.
Have you talked to AARP or whoever?
Right.
What are your other options? Have you called the Department of Transportation? There's other options there that can be offered.
Yeah.
And that's how you get the good customer service. It's not just hard line. This is the only way to handle it.
Yeah, I would agree. I think my definition of customer service, I'm hesitant to say the customer's not always right, because I think all of us have a desired end goal, and that there's nothing wrong with the end goal, but how you get there, how you go about it, you're usually interacting with a customer service person to help you figure that out, and they may feel like you're wrong. So it's always the back and forth of like, because I experience that a bit, like, when we meet with new clients, they have an end desire that's right and good. They want to grow their business, or they want support, or they, whatever their end goal is. That's it. There's a desired end there. There's nothing wrong with that end goal, but there's definitely a disconnect between how we get there. I think that's often the tension between companies and their clients or their customers, is the not understanding the journey we're taking together.
Yeah.
But I would say good customer service is probably treat your clients the way they should be treated. Not the way they want to be treated, but the way they should be.
How you want to treat them.
It's a business owner's responsibility to figure out what they do really, really well. And when you've decided this is what I'm going to be known for, this is what I'm going to market, then it's your job to educate your client on those things. So when there's a disconnect, they're disconnected because they were sold on improper expectations? That happens on our side. Most times new clients are not happy. It's not because we're not doing what we promised to do, it's because there's a disconnect between them understanding what we truly do.
Yeah.
So I would say that it's treat your clients the way they should be treated, which, number one, they're a human being. They should be treated with decency and dignity and respect. Things get heated. That's okay. Let's just apologize for those things. Like, people are going to get mad and angry. They can be mad and angry, and you can say, hey, I can't talk to you when you're this angry. Or if you get mad, you can call back and apologize. Like, let's not forget what we learned in kindergarten. But then I think the next thing is, like, you treat your client the way they should be treated, which is, if you've decided you're going to execute on this bill of sale or this service or this product, you need to make sure that you're living up to your end of the bargain.
You made a good point, because what you said there is essentially your first interaction with the prospect is where you start your customer service experience with that person. And if you don't do that with absolute integrity, you will have further customer service issues down the road.
Absolutely.
In our context, if we, whether it's a sales and marketing, however our prospect sees us or gets to us, and if we have said something, shown them something, done something in their mind and that's built a picture, an image of what Patrick Accounting or Works is.
Right.
If that's not consistent with their experience when they actually are buying our service, there's going to be some kickback somewhere.
Absolutely.
And so this is why, the stereotypical used car dealer.
Yeah, that's why people hate salesmen.
Yeah, because it's, hey, you know what? We can get you in this car for only $100 a month.
That's right.
And, come sign up right now. And turns out it's going to be at 80,000%, financing deal or whatever.
Right.
And that leaves a bad taste in people's mouth, to where now what else? Because it's not, hey, you know what? That guy was being sleazy. That company may not have been that way. And that may have been the first incident, and they fired him immediately because he's a sleazy dude or whatever.
Right.
But for that customer, that's their experience. And so
their impression
now,
forever.
For that company, it's done.
Yeah. So that probably goes back with, if you're having a customer service issue, probably the first thing you want to do is look at your staff. Do you have people of integrity that work for you?
Yeah.
In all of your departments. I mean, that is, you mentioned sales, but that's why salespeople get such a bad rap. But, I'm in sales. It's my job to build up my profession. And I think the first thing that, like, most good salesmen really actually care about is caring for people. Like, I'm in this because I love to help people. You didn't want me to be your doctor, but, like, I want to help people. And so that flesh itself out and finding, needs and solutions to their problems. But salespeople get a bad rap often because they may have gotten into it because they like people, they're extroverted, they enjoy conversation, and then they want to help. And then like what their company can actually do may not always be what, they can and actually deliver on. So I think that's that's often a huge disconnect, is like,
no matter how badly that salesperson at Chick-fil-A wants to help you, they're not going to sell you a burger.
Right.
And a good salesperson that has integrity they're not afraid to say no to a buyer.
Absolutely not.
Because they understand how that buyer is going to experience not just that one transaction.
Absolutely.
But every transaction with everybody else in the company.
Yep.
And I think for the most part, we do a decent job of that because we have good people on our team. That starts with the values of the organization, though. Because if our salespeople and our customer service people, everybody in our organization don't live out the values of the company, there's going to be disconnect, which is going to create friction between buyer and seller. That's going to turn into a customer service issue down the road. One of my favorite stories, and I don't even remember when I heard this, but Southwest Airlines, known for great customer service, high quality culture. They had, if you've ever flown Southwest, you know that their flight attendants are a little bit quirky. They like to have fun. They like to make the trip memorable. So they'll tell jokes and dance, sing, be silly.
Yeah.
You don't see that on other airlines. And so there was a story in which a customer flew somewhere on Southwest and wrote a letter to the CEO. This was way back when, that essentially said your flight attendants were unprofessional. They were cracking jokes. They were being silly or whatever. And a lot of people get that complaint letter. And what do? They want to soothe the customer over. Oh, I apologize for that. You know what? We'll try to do better. We're going to send our entire team through this new training, whatever.
Sure.
But they didn't. Instead, they knew that was part of their culture. And so the response back to that customer was, I wish you the best on your next airline.
Yeah.
Because when your values, your culture, who you are, who you're wanting to be is so ingrained all the way top to bottom through an organization, the customer service component of dealing with people will flow out of that. And the
Absolutely.
second that you violate your values, your customer service is going to start to suffer.
Yes, absolutely. And your clients know that. I mean, it's when there is the disconnect, so like you mentioned that vendor that's saying, we're working on it, we're working on it. Well, either you are listening and you're actually working on it or you're not. Quit saying you are if you're really not. Like, just own up to that and say, this is not an area, because you can smell you can smell disconnect a mile away when you know a team is not aligned. Like, that for me is a big, I don't feel good about that organization. Like, when I see a lot of turnover in an organization, like, referral partners, we always want to, like, particularly because we know we have an ideal client profile. And when I meet someone I want to help that doesn't fit our profile, I shouldn't do this, but I'm like, well, who do I know that I could actually help them? Can I make an introduction? And so we're always on the move for finding good referral partners. And truthfully, for me, when I see like a partner who I think is, good customer service or could deliver, and they have a ton of turnover, I'm like, oh, I don't want to, recommend them because I think that their culture might be off. So step to customer service is, we always talk about culture, but I think a part of it is like really having your values dialed in.
Yeah. Greg is doing a talk Greg is our HRO manager. You've heard him on the podcast before. He's doing a talk in Florida, I think next month in July.
Home Care Con.
Yeah, he's at a conference keynoting a deal there. And his topic we were talking about yesterday is, in passing, he's talking about culture and how you can't have good culture without great values. That your values are going to influence your culture all the time, and and they go together. So if you want to create good culture, or any culture, good or bad, I don't know who wants to create bad culture, but the way that you do that is by establishing and living by your values. You go read any organizational health type book, they're going to talk about mission, values, goals, all that type of stuff, purpose. And a lot of times it can seem fluffy. It could seem like, okay, this is another one of those things.
Yeah.
But man, that stuff is just so true.
Yeah.
Without clear values, you're not gonna have quality customer service. It's incongruent because everybody on your team, they don't know how to act because you haven't given them the value system by which they need to act.
Right.
So it's if you're going to be in Florida, especially if you're in the home care world, you need to go to that. Because he's got a really good topic planned. I think
July
he's
20th, I believe, or the 21st. But yeah, it's in. I should know by now. We're flying there. Home Care Con. If you're a home health care company, Greg is talking about it. It should be good.
Completely unrelated to that. I want to say, I think he said that like if you are an attendee to the conference, you get like free tickets to Disney or maybe discounted tickets.
What?
It's like, man, I need to go down to this.
Is that real?
That's what he said.
Oh man, I need to get on that
wagon. He may have misread
wagon.
something, but I don't know, man.
I think he did. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Well,
maybe it was hopeful. Maybe it was like, man, I wish they did. And I didn't hear that first part. And so I'm thinking I need to get to this conference so I can get some free Disney tickets.
Yeah. So we've come to a working definition, it sounds like, of what we think customer service is, which is green light to do the right thing for your client and treat clients the way you believe they should be treated.
Yeah. And when you do that consistently over and over and over again, they're going to turn into what you mentioned earlier, raving fans that are going to go out and shout your name from the rooftops and tell everybody else that they know about what you're doing, what your services is. Now, this is a slow growth technique.
Yeah.
You cannot do this overnight. It's not going to be the microwave version. And the thing that I find, just to kind of wrap things up a little bit, as the workforce gets younger, as millennials get into more positions of leadership, I love millennials, say what you want about them. The reality is they are incredibly, incredibly great at smelling inauthenticity.
Yeah, for sure.
And the second they pick up the scent of you're not being real, they're done. Yep. They are done with you. So I think that it's customer service is hugely important right now, but it's just going to increase as you have more players in the market, whatever your industry is. This is the way, or at least a giant way to stand out from your competition.
Absolutely. And I would say if you're struggling with your customer service, so like if this is a real pain point for you, I think COVID was a really big time for everyone to just, really look at what they were doing and decide if it was right. But I think if you're struggling in your customer service, maybe just go back. I say this a lot, but go back to like your ideal client. Like, who do you really want to service? And I do think as an owner or a leadership team, it is okay for you to say this particular subset, if it's a personality or, an industry trait, if it's not working, it is totally okay as an owner to admit that and move forward without working, or not to fire a client, but it's okay for you to not be a jack of all trades. Like, it is okay for you to specialize. It's okay for you to have a niche. Like, that is totally appropriate. And so if customer service is a big area of problem, problem area for you, and you're running into some specific things, it's okay for you to say, you know what, we don't do that really well. We're not going to do it anymore.
Yep. And then next thing you know, you do that enough times and you've changed something.
Yeah.
It's remarkable how that works. Last thing, I'll add this and then we can wrap it up. Whenever you do, next time you encounter a situation in which somebody's being a jackwagon and you mess something up and it's escalating, just ask yourself, what is the right thing to do in this situation?
Yeah.
But don't leave it there. Then ask yourself, what is the above and beyond second mile thing to do in this situation? And do that. And once you can get your team to think like that, you're going to start to soar in your ability to provide excellent customer service to the customer base that you're serving.
I love that. I'm going to work on that.
Remember, customer service is service, servanthood. I'm doing something on for the behalf of somebody else. It's not self-serving. So, Shelby, really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today. And if you are out there listening, whether it's on podcast or YouTube or wherever you pick us up, we really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to join us and listen to us gabble about something that is super important.
Yeah.
But also
send in your best customer service moments. Maybe we could learn something. If you've got a good story,
or the worst, because those are fun too.
We're focusing on the good. Yeah, send in your good ones.
That's right. All right. So last week, Matt and I were up here and we talked about KRAs. And so the question that came in that we're going to answer today is, how detailed do you need to get when you're writing a KRA? So we talked about the idea of a KRA as a key result area where we're focusing on the outcomes that a position or a job a person will do in that role. And so when you're writing those, because I know that you've written some here lately,
I have.
How detailed do you get in those docs?
Yeah. Well, I have not listened to that podcast yet, so hopefully I'm consistent with your message. I do not think that your KRA is the place for the exquisite detail. And my approach to the KRAs was I took what's the benefit, not the features and the applications, right, for thinking about that language, but what's the benefit. So KRA, an outcome is they are winning in this. And honestly, I want to name that. So winning is they are just killing it in their circles of influence. But I want to give some freedom and flexibility to the employee to be creative about how they achieve that outcome. I don't want it to be, this is my marketer and I want her to do 100 marketing qualified leads every month and that's her KRA and that is winning.
Yeah.
How about I just say, we want marketing qualified leads and let her figure out how she gets there.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I think the outcome should be specific. It should be a SMART goal, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. But I do not think it needs to be an exact, quota, quantity, or measurement so that it's a pass-fail. I think it's a moving target.
I think
would that be how y'all answered?
I would take it one step. It's not bad. I would take it one step further than that. Remember, your KRA is not your detailed job description. It's not everything that a person's going to do in a role.
Right.
It is, if they do these 3 to 5 things, then they are winning. And those 3 to 5 things may be provide excellent customer service.
Right.
It may be develop marketing qualified leads. It may be issue timely financial statements. But then there is a section. Remember, there's only 3 to 5 of those. It's not everything. Right. These are the big picture, what winning, and it's outcome oriented. Excellent customer service, right? There is a section in your KRAs that are going to be KPIs that are going to be measurables. And so to your example, it may be, you're as a marketing person, it's to develop marketing qualified leads. But there is this is the specifics measurable of that.
Sure.
And that's where you can get as specific as you want to, But to your point, the more specific you get, the less freedom that person has. And so think through the bigger picture from a leadership standpoint. If that my marketing person developed 10 marketing qualified leads a month, is that winning? And if so, there's your metric.
Mm-hmm.
It should not be develop 3 via web, 3 via direct mail,
Absolutely.
4 via, unless there's a reason for that. But generally speaking, make it very clear this is what winning is. This is how we measure winning. But don't necessarily get into the weeds of how that's going to happen unless, again, it's needed for the job. If I'm a doctor,
Right.
how I do my work matters
Sure.
greatly. But if I'm a creative, I may go about doing something, very differently.
Mm-hmm.
And so unless it's industry job specific, I wouldn't get too far down that trail. But remember, it's not everything. It's 3 to 5 big picture outcomes. This is what winning looks like. And then how are we going to measure that? That way everybody's on the same page. Because what you want to avoid there is if my KRA, my outcome was to develop marketing qualified leads, and that's not a great one. I understand that. It needs to be thought out more than that. And you don't have a kind of measurable there, then you may think 3 is winning.
Absolutely.
I may think 30 is winning.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're doing 5, you're thinking you're killing it, and I'm about to fire you. So you want to make sure it's clear enough to where everybody is on the same page. Remember, to be unclear is to be unkind.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that we're clear enough that everybody's on the same page with what winning looks like.
But to be clear, if it's KRA, it's not this is the stuff you're getting fired. That's your position agreement. That's where you start. KRA is above and beyond.
KRA, we can get into this. I would say it's not above and beyond.
Okay.
This is winning, and I expect everybody on my team to win.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can get into that a little bit. We'll do that off mic.
I'm excited to learn about better KRAs.
So thank you guys for listening. Really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. Remember, just like Shelby said, if you have a great customer service story, send it in. We'd love to hear about it and share it with our team.
Mm-hmm.
And we may share a couple of our stories out there as well. So thanks for listening.
Absolutely.
You guys have a lovely day. We'll talk to you again next week.
See you guys.